The San Francisco 49ers fall in a Rady Levi's Stadium 12-6 in Week 15 to the Los Angeles Rams, and following along with the 49ers in this game is their hopes for a playoff run late in this season. Game balls, and how did it all happen? What does it mean for the San Francisco 49ers? Coming at you right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love and appreciate all of our everydayers out there, and welcome to all the new listeners as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel. Get a big return right now on FanDuel because new customers can place just a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. 12-6, a bonanza of field goals, Croc, in what was a pretty ugly game to start the Week 15 schedule. Extra ugly for the San Francisco 49ers, who had to have this game if they had any thoughts of maybe making a run at the end of this season and trying to sneak into the playoffs. Niners fall to 6-8 on the year, and the Rams improve. They've won 7 of 9, I believe, now, and have improved to 8-6 on the season and put themselves in a really good spot here as they go down the stretch. And we might have a Week 18 matchup between the Rams and the Seahawks for the West. And in this game, if we're going to put it simply, Croc, and look, they didn't have to make a lot of big plays. They kicked 3 field goals in the fourth quarter, a field goal in the second quarter, right? 12-6 was the score. You didn't have to make very many plays to win this game. The Rams made a few. The 49ers made none.
The 49ers had some opportunities, and early on there were a couple of dropped interceptions, and I knew with just the way that I felt this game would kind of play out. You had the weather. Clearly early on, both quarterbacks weren't as sharp as you ideally would like. But when you have opportunities to make interceptions, it was first Deommodore Lenoir. He undercut a route, let it go straight to his hands. And I believe on the very next drive, Tyler Nofunga, albeit he does have a club on his hand, he dropped one that hit him in the chest. And I won't give him a pass. I will not give him a pass for dropping the interception with a club, because I have a high school kid who played the second half of our season with the club on his hand, and he made a diving interception with the club. So no passes will be given out for Hufanga not making that play. But I think there were several plays in this game that 49er players could have potentially changed the trajectory of this game. And I think we can definitely go to Deebo Samuel. I think 49er fans are kind of outraged with, not just because of his play in this game or the drop that he had, but I think a lot of it has to do with some of the comments that he made heading into this game. But I'm not going to let 49er fans put this game on Deebo or the dropped interceptions. One of my biggest things I like to say is there's always going to be things that happen early in games or throughout a game that can obviously change the trajectory of how it turns out. But there's still a person that is in control of how it comes out. And when you think of the great QBs, guys that get paid a lot of money, especially a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes, which might be the greatest quarterback I've ever seen, right? But, Tom Brady, whatever. But we'll talk specifically about Mahomes and this season. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have 1 loss. And the reason why is because no matter how the game is going, no matter how many times he turns the ball over in the game or things don't go his way, he figures out a way to make the play and the throw when it needs to be made. We've seen it time and time again. Heck, I just saw the last game they were on primetime television last week. Brock Purdy has some opportunities to make some plays and make some throws. Hell, forget the interception. Just go a drive later when the 49ers are trying to get into, some maybe a Hail Mary type of range or something like that. And he had Ricky Pearsall open on the out and overthrows him. So not a sharp day by him. But when you have an opportunity, it's a tight game, right? It's a tight game. Again, things aren't going your way. It's on my guy that we're potentially going to pay a lot of money to to help us. You're not supposed to add to the woes. You're not supposed to add to the issues. And he continues to underthrow guys consistently throughout this entire season. There were some that were caught that should have been touchdowns, and the 49ers not end up scoring because they've been so bad in the red zone. And then tonight, he underthrows George Kittle, who had a defender beat. A lot of people are like, oh, pass interference. It shouldn't even been close to pass interference because the ball should have been out further. But he's underthrowing guys. And then later in the game, he has an opportunity. Ricky Pearsall running the post. You got him. He's got Keller Witherspoon by a couple of steps and underneath. Throw it out there. He underthrows Ricky Pearsall. Lets Keller Witherspoon recover. He breaks up the ball. All right. And then the very next play, after I tweeted out, dang, this dude's been underthrowing passes all season. He overthrows. He's overcompensating now. And not just overthrow. You overthrow a ball, whatever. It's a double coverage heave down the right sideline. It was never a good decision to make that throw or attempt that throw. And it gets picked off, ultimately ending the 49ers season, any chance they have of the postseason. So there's a lot of blame to go around with the loss that the 49ers just had. But the biggest, in my opinion, goes to the guy that touches the ball every single play and had opportunities to pull the 49ers out of it. That's what the big money quarterbacks are supposed to do, and Brock Purdy didn't do
it. I don't think you have to take blame away from one player to place it on another. I think it's on all of them. Purdy was not good in this game. He missed way too many throws. But when he made a throw, the guys that could have helped him out couldn't help him out either. And so it's everybody. It goes the big miss to Ricky Pearsall on the deep ball. Perfect throw from Purdy in the rain. That's a touchdown, right? Should be. But it's Purdy, and it's in the rain. And we know it's not going to be perfect. And I thought Pearsall did a terrible job of trying to come back, and he could have helped his guy out. Maybe made a play on it. You're asking a lot from the rookie. And good. Look, it's not a good throw. Should be a touchdown throw. But does Puka Nacua make that catch? Probably. He'd have made a better attempt at it than Ricky Pearsall did. But you're right. On the last drive, he misses Pearsall on the out. That could get you in position to try to do something there. The 49ers can't even get off a Hail Mary throw. And Purdy gets sacked to end the game. That last play of the game, the sack, not even able to get a throw off, was a microcosm of the entire season for the San Francisco 49ers. So you're right. Purdy was not good in this game. You're looking for your quarterback to make a play, and he can't do it. And when he does make a throw, then the receivers can't make a play for the quarterback. And then if you want to blame Deebo, you also have to blame the guy who's force-feeding the football early in the game. The crowd was booing Deebo after that drop. First play of the game is a slant to Deebo, broken up by, guess who? Keller Witherspoon, who, by the way, Keller Witherspoon probably deserves a game ball. He had a sneaky good game out there for the Los Angeles Rams against the 49ers in this one. The defenders can't hold on to an interception when it hits them in the chest. That was one of our keys to victory, Croc. Try to pressure Matthew Stafford, try to get him uncomfortable. And if he throws you the football, you have to catch it. He could have thrown 4 interceptions this game. He threw none. So, and especially the ones that bounce off the defender's hands. So you can blame the quarterback, and Brock Purdy was not good. He deserves a big chunk of the blame. And again, had some trouble throwing the ball in the rain, which you've seen before from him, but made some okay throws as well. Deebo was bad. There was a lot of bad out there. And so
I know it's coming off as if I'm blaming Brock.
Yeah.
I just expect my quarterback, when things aren't going great, this is the guy that's going to figure it out for me. Now, again, are we judging him on being a $900,000 a year quarterback right now? Or am I judging him off of someone who's potentially going to be made the highest paid quarterback in the league this offseason? So if I'm judging him based off of that, then I'm just more critical of making more timely plays in that moment. But if I'm judging him off of what he's being paid now and just say, well, you got all these other things going on, you got these injuries and whatnot, then it's not Brock's fault.
Yeah, no,
but how are we viewing him? Or like, what are the expectations for him? I thought that the expectations were in these situations, and this is not me. I saw someone blaming Brock. I'll put it on Jimmy G. I'll put it on. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I'm always going to say in these moments where you have a chance, like the 49ers defense was not great tonight, and they did not capitalize on certain opportunities. But I mean, the team had like 6 points. that you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Now it's like, okay, offense. Even then, all the stuff that happened early in this game. Now we still got an opportunity to go win this game, right? And you're looking at Purdy in the huddle. All right, hey, this is our time. This is where the legends are made. And you threw a weird interception.
Right. Throw a weird interception. You miss a wide open guy you could throw a touchdown to. You miss Pearsall on the last drive to get you in a better position. You miss him on the sideline, like just a completely bad ball. And then you can't even get off a throw into the end zone for a Hail Mary, even if they could get the ball in the end zone with the, with the wet football in those conditions. I don't even know if that would have happened, but and we'll talk a lot about this in the off season. And so I don't want to dwell on it here with Brock Purdy and an impending contract, but yeah, it's like, do you want Brock Purdy at $900,000? Yes, please give me a dozen of those. Right.
Yeah.
Do you want Brock Purdy at 55, 60 million? I don't know if you want any of those. And that's where it gets pretty dicey with the whole Brock Purdy thing, because like you said, you are looking at your quarterback. If you are that guy, you're that franchise guy, you're going to pay him all this money. He's the dude. You're in the huddle. Okay, guys, it's okay. I got you. We're going to go down here. We're going to score. We're going to win this football game. And it didn't look anything like that in this game when they had the opportunity to do it. I do have a game ball to give out here. More on the San Francisco 49ers loss to the Los Angeles Rams in Week 15. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites from legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. That's 50% off at Omaha Steaks, OMAHA steaks.com. And an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. So sticking with the offense real quick before we do give out some game balls and talk a little bit more about this football game, because, we said some things about the defense not coming up with some big plays, but they held the Rams to 12 points. So I'm all day looking at the offensive side of the ball. Like, look, this game could have got completely sideways for Matthew Stafford and the Rams if the 49ers were able to come up with a couple of those interceptions, really good opportunities for interceptions. But it's not like the Rams scored on those drives. The Lenore and the Hufanga drop, those drives ended in punts. So it's not like they gave up points on those drives either. And the 49ers defense held the Rams to 12 points. They didn't allow a touchdown in this game. So you got to look at the offense and say, come on, guys, you can't muster anything. You can't make a play. And we've been pounding the table on this podcast for a long time about how many targets and how many touches you get George Kittle, who's the biggest mismatch on the offense right now, who's the best player, I think, on the offense right now. And he made the biggest play of the game on offense for the 49ers with the 33-yard catch that led to a 33-yard catch that led to that first field goal for the 49ers. He only had 4 catches in this game on 7 targets. He was targeted the same amount of time as Deebo Samuel. Deebo also got the ball a couple of more times in the run game as well. And Deebo on those 7 targets had 3 catches for 16 yards and 2 carries for 3 yards. And so when I look at Deebo and he's saying he needs more touches, and we were skeptical about that comment this week, Croc, and Kyle Shanahan features him very heavily early in the game, and nothing comes of those touches. It's like, when did Deebo become Smokey, right? Like, if you guys know the movie where he got his name, he's not Deebo. He's not stealing people's chains right now. He's just not. And I wonder how the game would have gone if, 3, 4, 5 of his 9 touches were split up between Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. It would have made for a better offense and potentially bigger plays potentially happening there. So that's the way I look at it from that standpoint. And so everything kind of funnels back to Kyle Shanahan. And, look, guys didn't make plays, and Kyle Shanahan's not dropping the ball. Kyle Shanahan's not missing throws. And unfortunately, in a rain game, you would like to be able to run the ball. And kudos, to the Rams. They were able to thwart the 49ers attempt to run the ball. It was 57 yards on 16 carries, 3.6 yards per carry for Isaac Guerendo in this game, 1.5 yards per carry for Deebo Samuel. So it just wasn't happening on offense for the San Francisco 49ers. And that's how they went out. They went out scoring 6 points against the Rams, who gave up 42 points last week.
That was a tough one. And just trying to think of just different moments in this game. And we're talking about Deebo Samuel. I guess for us, definitely me, not all surprised with how he performed in this game, because this is something we've been talking about on this podcast. And I don't think it's just us. I think it's a lot of people. I think that's what made Deebo Samuel come out and make the comments that he did. I need the ball. Get me the ball. And we're like, wait a minute. You got 7 touches last game. Like, you're getting the ball. You're not making the plays. I've had 49er fans ask me, Croc, when's the last time Deebo Samuel broke a tackle? And I'm watching today trying to see, like, okay, let's see Deebo break a tackle. And it's like, no, he's getting taken down by the first guy. Like, that's not what Deebo has been. And that kind of led us to say he's just kind of a shell of himself, whether it's this season. And I think it was you that brought up maybe eventually kind of needing a change of scenery to kind of get his vibes back and get him back motivated. But right now, the Deebo Samuel we're seeing out there on the field isn't the Deebo that got him paid the money that he did.
We start talking about how much guys are getting paid, and we've talked about Purdy and what that's going to look like with the contract negotiation this offseason potentially. And, Deebo Samuel, what he's getting paid. And the 49ers have gone through all this stuff. And they do have some players who are getting paid. And then you look at the free agents to be for the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to go to my one and only game ball in this game, and it goes to Dre Greenlaw. And I had a suspicion he would make a pretty big difference for the 49ers defense. And you could just feel his presence out there on the field. It was night and day what it looked like having Dre Greenlaw out there. So welcome back, Dre Greenlaw. I hope there wasn't another injury there. He was standing up on the sideline, but they didn't give him his helmet back either. And he wasn't out there on those key drives when the Rams were able to go down the field. In fact, the first drive after Greenlaw leaves the field, the Rams offense starts moving down the field. They went on a 17-play, 9-minute and 45-second drive. They took up almost the entirety of the third quarter on a drive. The 49ers were stout enough on defense a couple of times with the Rams getting down there. The next drive as well, Stafford just pops a quick one. So they go 17 plays on one drive. Next drive, Stafford hits Puka Nacua deep. And in one play, they're down there. The 49ers stiffened up in the red zone both of those times and held the Rams to a field goal. But with Greenlaw off the field, the Rams were able to move the ball down the field a little bit easier. And Greenlaw in the first half did something that hasn't been done. Let me find the exact numbers here from, I believe it was Josh Dubois of the Associated Press. Dre Greenlaw is the first 49ers player with 9+ tackles in the first half of a regular season game since Fred Warner had 10 in week 17 of the 2021 season versus the Texans. So that's what Dre Greenlaw was out there doing for the 49ers. You could feel his presence out there. So absolute game ball for Dre Greenlaw in this game. He proved to be a difference maker. And we start talking about paying guys. And Hufanga was good in this game. Would have liked him to catch that interception. Hufanga, you could feel his presence last week when he was on the field after not playing all year for the 49ers. Guys like Hufanga and Greenlaw, maybe they are a little bit more important, critical players, heart and soul type players that you got to try to find some money. You got to try to find some money to bring those guys back and keep them around because they make a difference. And when you see it like that with them not being around all year and all of a sudden they're plugged in, it's like, oh, we feel this guy now. Do you have people that you feel like confident that are on rookie contracts you can plug in and make that much of a difference for you? Or do you have to start ditching contracts? Do you have to find room like the Deebo contract or Javon Hargrave contract or whatever ways you can do it? Let some other guys go instead to try to bring those two guys back. I think Greenlaw might have made himself a lot of money, and I hope he's not hurt again because you could feel him out there and having 57 and 54 next to each other on the 49ers defense. is massive. That makes a huge difference. And so, yeah, big game ball. Welcome back to Dre Greenlaw. Hope he's not hurt again.
Selfishly, I hope the 49ers say, oh, he tweaks a little something. Let's put him on IR. And they're able to get him back a little bit on a cheaper dollar. Because if I'm an NFL team and I'm looking for a linebacker and I see Dre Greenlaw out there and what he looked like in the limited snaps that he got, and he's available this offseason, I'm 100% going to get that guy. He was playing at a different speed. But D. Winters is a guy that runs extremely fast. He was like a 4.4 40 type guy. And, one thing about the NFL, and I realized this when I was with the New York Jets, you can be as fast as you are, but if you don't have it up here, you start to play a little bit slower. And I'm not saying Winters is playing slow. I'm just saying Dre Greenlaw is playing at such a fast pace. And Greenlaw and Winters, they made a tackle early in this game. It was like both of them kind of made a combined tackle. But where Greenlaw started to chase down the ball carrier and where Winters started and how Greenlaw beat Winters there, I was like, God, this guy's just playing at warp speed. And I was wondering how would he look coming off of the injury and, not just the injury, but just the mental aspect of it. Would it have him playing just a step slow and whatnot? He was playing fast. He was in there. He was throwing his body around. He was knifing in, making tackles. He was getting off of blocks, man. I forgot how good he was. But tonight he definitely reminded me right away. Hopefully he was on the pitch count.
You could even tell the way he was moving, like his leg, you could tell it wasn't completely 100% Dre Greenlaw, but that didn't matter. He was still flying around, making tons of plays. He makes plays because he moves before other guys. He moves quickly. He's hitting guys. I thought he was going to concuss Talanoa Hufanga when he made a big tackle on, I think it was Kyron Williams. He got up and Talanoa Hufanga comes over to congratulate him, and Dre Greenlaw goes, boom, and gives him the gnarliest headbutt right in his face. He's like, oh my God, man, I know you're hyped, but calm down. You're going to concuss your own player. He just plays different, man. You can feel him out there. And I do think guys like Hufanga and Greenlaw, probably their numbers might be a little smaller in the free agency just because of the injuries. So that might make it easier for the 49ers to potentially bring them back or shorter term deals. But you got to believe other teams that employ guys like D'Amico Ryans and, Rand Carthon's over there in Tennessee and Adam Peters getting the new thing going. They definitely need really good defensive players over there in Washington. They're going to be eyeballing some of these free agents the 49ers have pretty hard. And so the 49ers might have to bid against those guys who are very familiar with what players like Hufanga and Greenlaw can bring. All right, we'll finish up this episode rapid react style. 49ers lose 12-6 to the Los Angeles Rams. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action right now on FanDuel, because not only are they America's #1 sports book, but right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. You want to make live bets on the NFL? You want to make live bets on the NBA, NHL, any other sport? You can do that as well. Tons of props, yearly props, weekly props, off-season props. Who's going to win the awards? Offensive, defensive rookie of the year, MVP, draft props, all of it you can find at FanDuel. And, of course, all of the weekly lines for your San Francisco 49ers. And all you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today or download the app, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Make a stinking play. Nobody could make a play, Croc. You know who else couldn't make a play is the production team for Amazon. I want to go to a comment here, which, a little levity in this situation for 49ers fans. Got to give a game ball to Trent Williams, says Hind. I was dying laughing when they showed somebody. I don't know who it was. I thought Malik Collins for a second, but Malik Collins was in a uniform. This guy was in street clothes. Might have been Khalil Davis, who the Niners traded for recently. I couldn't even place the player. It was just the 49ers guy. It might have been a coach. I think it was a player who was not suited. and it says Trent Williams. I'm like, dude, you don't know who Trent Williams is? And even Kirk Herbstreit's like, yep, there's Trent Williams, and he's out with an ankle injury. So a little levity here. I was dying laughing at that. I don't know. So yeah, game ball to fake incognito Trent Williams. That's like the old the Kirkland Trent Williams. Hey, we don't need a Trent Williams. We got a Trent Williams at home. Trent Williams. That's what that was. So come on, guys. Somebody make a play on a stinking Thursday night. Croc, do you have any game balls?
Talanoa Hufanga. Again, almost like Dre Greenlaw, but when you don't get to watch a guy for a long time, you almost forget how good they are, or at least in certain aspects of their game. And watching Hufanga fly around everything, I'd say within 5 yards and in, he was amazing. He was everywhere. He was slicing in. He was making tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He was blowing up screens. He was making tackles in space. The biggest blooper was just the dropped interception. But aside from that, I bet there's a lot of people we could talk about on this defense. Again, they gave up 12 points, and 3 of them came on that very last drive. So for most of this game, 90% of this game, they had given up 9 points in this game. The defense, I thought, was outstanding. But Talanoa Hufanga, he was another guy that was kind of a catalyst of that. And watching him fly around, again, we already mentioned Dre Greenlaw. It was fun. So definitely have to give a game ball to Talanoa Hufanga.
It would have been nice if the defensive line could have got a little bit more pressure on Matthew Stafford. 0 sacks in this game. They leaned heavily on the run. It was only 3.7 yards per carry, similar to Isaac Guerendo's 3.6. They just gave it to Kyron Williams 29 times for 108 yards, especially late when they got the lead, and they were just trying to shorten that game down or just trying to pound the rock there. But the 49ers did a good job against the run game. They did a good job covering guys and unfortunately not making those interceptions, but Stafford was only 16 of 27 for 160 yards. But Purdy wasn't that much worse than that. He was 14 of 31 for 142 yards. Purdy was sacked 3 times. Stafford was not sacked at all. I mean, the defense as a whole did a really good job. Fred Warner was out there flying around and making plays. The corners were making plays, saved the one deep ball that was like the little, I don't know if you even call it a corner post, or he just kind of gave him a little nod, and it was on the deep ball that got Charvarius Ward on the right sideline. That was a really big play in this game. The defense came to play, man. They played really well. And again, I point to the offense. You scored 6 points out there. I used the term hydrophobic. The offense was hydrophobic, and we've seen that from Brock Purdy in the past, where he doesn't throw well in the rain. And I think this was another one of those, but they couldn't run the ball either in bad weather. And so a lot of folks pointing to the 49ers offensive line. Chris Furster famously talked about in the draft when they drafted Ricky Pearsall, and a lot of people wanted an offensive tackle. Not only, did they think, one player was maybe better than whatever the next group of offensive tackles were going to be at that point in the draft. But he's like, yeah, I'm with him on this. We're going to coach up, have smart, tough guys and coach them up on the offensive line. And I think you got to pay the guys and draft the guys high that make plays with the ball in their hands. And, maybe the 49ers need to go back and rethink some of that a little bit. And this offseason could potentially be about the trenches and whether they pay or draft guys at those spots. Because when it comes down to it, and you have to run the ball, and the other team knows that you need to try to run the ball and get a little offense going in that way, the 49ers couldn't do that either. So, you can blame Brock. You can blame the receivers not making plays at times. You can blame Kyle, but they weren't able to consistently get a ground game going either. So it was up front. It was everything on offense. The offense really let 49ers fans down, I think, tonight. It was a hydrophobic offense, and you got to be able to score 12 points. When your defense keeps a team to 12 points, your back's against the wall, you have to win this game or you're going to kiss your playoff hopes goodbye. Now, the 49ers aren't mathematically eliminated, but they're out of it now. They're out of it now, Croc. And you couldn't make a play. I think it's going to be a tough night of sleep for a lot of 49ers.
Very interesting that the 49ers were struggling to run it. And I think for a lot of this season, they've had their moments where not really running the ball well outside of a few explosive runs by Isaac Guerendo. The 49ers offense isn't this like big mauler offensive line. They don't go and get guys that's going to knock everybody back, but they scheme it up well. They run more kind of, zone stretch type stuff. And I think they're more designed to just kind of get in guys' way, zone blocking. Let's get in the way, wall the guy off. You don't have to be the most physically imposing offensive line. And right now, they're not even being able to do that consistently. So I think that's been a really big issue in the run game. I don't think it helps that there's something with the way Grindle runs. I've talked about it before, where I see him take. It looks like he's taking big hits, and for a running back that is bigger, he's like 6'1", 6'2", 220 pounds. He takes these shots and like gets slammed to the ground. I'm like, how does this happen? And I mentioned maybe a few weeks ago on the podcast, I mentioned Frank Gore, and I'm not comparing Garindo to Frank Gore, but maybe he needs to watch some Frank Gore film or call up Frank Gore. Frank Gore is somebody that's definitely been accessible to 49er players and the organization. But
He's
ask
in the
him,
building.
how do
He's
you
on
run
staff.
behind your pads? He's
Yeah.
on staff?
Yeah, Frank Gore is on
Jeez,
staff.
Go talk to this dude, man.
He's there. He might be on the road a lot. He's in the scouting department, I think, on the scouting side, not on the coaching side.
Yeah, and that's how they do guys like that sometimes. That's how when I was with the New York Jets, a guy that I had to report to all the time, Aaron Glenn, he was a scout. He wasn't even a coach yet. Yeah, so I had to report to him before, like when I was going home for OTAs or going home for training camp and all that. And then he would kind of tell me, hey, this is what we're looking to get out of you, etc. But yeah, Aaron Glenn, he started out as a scout. But talk to Frank Gore and figure out, how did Frank Gore run behind his pads? Because we never saw Frank Gore take big hits. Running, especially like, I'm running through the A gap, B gap. He gets really low, and he was like almost able to get underneath everybody and get another 2-3 yards when maybe it was only blocked up for 1 yard.
Yeah, and the ability to just kind of move and feel inside of a pile, and sometimes you look like, this play is going to go for 2.5 yards, and all of a sudden there's Frank. He kind of pops out of the other side of that hole. Garindo's definitely not that style of back. Little taller guy, kind of runs a little bit more upright, long-legged, longer stride guy. And still, I think learning some of the finer nuances of not only Kyle's running game, but just being a running back too, with only one start at running back in his college career. So, Isaac Garindo wasn't able to get outside and make many plays. I got to credit the Rams coaching staff. I thought they did a good job, had a good plan against the 49ers offense, and were swarming guys after the catch when they were able to make catches on some of the shorter stuff. And all in all, I mean, they just got beat. Niners got beat. This Niners team was not good this year, and they didn't deserve a chance to make the playoffs. And they just keep proving it week after week. There's no switch to turn on anymore, Croc. They're 6-8, and they are not going to make the playoffs. They're not mathematically eliminated, but that's where we're at. Say goodbye.
I think the worst part about the loss tonight is I bet one of my players on-call push-ups. So now I'm pretty sure tomorrow I'll be walking around the campus. It's going to be lunchtime, and he's going to be like, Coach Croc, give me 10. And I'm going to have to get down in front of everybody and do 10 push-ups and until he runs out of his 25. So I'm not looking forward to that.
You got to show, though, right? You got to show up and prove to your guys, like, look, I'm not going to back down. Not a sick day. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to do my push-ups.
Everything is an opportunity to teach a lesson.
That's right.
That one will be humility and, living up to your word.
Yeah, perseverance, fighting through the tough times.
Oh, man.
All right.
Head coach, hey, real quick. I've been doing this now. I've been head coach now, 2 weeks?
Yep.
And I still, and I don't know exactly how much Kyle Shanahan has on his plate, but being in charge of, responsible for everything, I don't know how he's like, you know what, maybe I don't want to call plays. Now, maybe he just has it down to where he has his kind of system and the structure and things are in place that allow him to call plays and game plan as well. But it's a lot. It's a lot being a head coach, even for high school football. So I could only assume at the NFL level, I think you deal with different things. Dealing with guys that have a ton of money is probably a lot different than dealing with guys that have no money. They just have different issues. But I'm interested to see how long Kyle Shanahan calls plays, because there's just a lot of moving pieces when you're the guy and everybody goes to you with every single problem.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants to do more than anything else. I think he would delegate everything else before he delegated play calling duties, or just go back to being an OC, if that's the way things were going to be. Or maybe he does it like Andy Reid, because Andy Reid is kind of not the play caller, but it filters through him, right? Isn't that how?
I feel like that's the way to go. Like, that'd be me, right? Where, I'm going to be watching the film, breaking down the film. Hey, this is kind of what I think, our game plan should be against this team. I like XYZ. All right, now it's on you to run everything, whatever drills and all that. Like that's on. I'm putting that on my coordinator. But I've kind of laid out what I feel like. Okay, this will work versus team, and I like this. And look, on third down situations and like that, I'll give you all the situational stuff. But all right, you're in charge of all that, while I still have to worry about the freshman level, the JV level, practice schedule,
Mm-hmm.
the bus schedule, getting guys to a game, pregame meals, right? Like, there's all that other stuff.
12-6, 49ers drop one. It was a must win, and the 49ers did not win. More on the 49ers, where they're at now. Mock draft Mondays to come sooner than we wanted this season for the San Francisco 49ers. And feed George Kittle. I think is the last thing I want to say here. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Croc and I back Monday to break down everything we see from week 15. And maybe keep one eye on those college prospects, what the 49ers offseason might look like, because it's getting here more rapidly than it has in recent seasons. Talk to you then right here, Locked On 49ers.